Welcome, guys, to ILW Pod. I'm your host, Justin Wright. Today, we are here with a friend of the channel, Jami Jameson. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Glad we finally got on camera, get to interact. It's been a couple tries, but we're here.
Yeah, a couple weeks, but we're making it happen right now.
Hey, we figured it out. Um, I like to just start it off easy, throwing out all the social media handles, all the upcoming events, get all the plugs out of the way so there's no, get all the extra stuff out. So you got
Uh,
any socials or anything?
yeah, I'm Jami Jameson on Facebook, Jamijameson, and then on Instagram, I believe I'm the country hammer underscore, and I'm not really active on Twitter at all. I'm like illiterate when it comes to Twitter. I don't know how to use it.
Fair enough.
Everybody
Did you,
says I need to work. Yeah, everybody says I need to work on getting my Twitter up and running, but I've tried a handful of times and just I don't understand it.
I'm the same way. I got one. Can never hit no traction on there, man.
No, no.
You got any upcoming events?
Yeah, tomorrow I got a show at IWC International Wrestling Cartel in Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. I'm gonna be doing my contract signing with Victor Benjamin to figure out what kind of stipulation we're gonna have in December at the Pittsburgh Pro Wrestling Classic at the IWC, and that's it for this week, I
Okay,
think. Yeah.
got you. I always start with the low ball question of, where did you fall in love with the sport? Like, it's the easy, as a kid, what sparked it?
Okay, I've told this a handful of times, but I'll tell it again. My I went to church with this buddy of mine. His name was Dominic, and we would always hang out at church and hang out after church, and we were always trying to get like a sleepover going on, and it never really worked out. But we finally got around to having a sleepover, and he said, "Hey, I'm cool to come over and stay the night as long as I can watch Friday Night SmackDown." And this was like around 2007 or so. And I was like, "What's Friday Night SmackDown?" I had no idea what it was or never heard of it. Didn't know nothing about wrestling at all. And he was like, "It's professional wrestling, WWE." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know what that is." And then he was like, "Well, I need to watch it if I'm coming over." And I was like, "Whatever you got to do. Like, I'm cool to watch whatever you want to watch." And the first, I mean, I can't remember exactly what happened all on that show, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was the Undertaker's entrance. I was like, "Holy shit, this guy's crazy." And I believe the match was some sort of tag team match between it was Batista and Undertaker because they were in the middle of their rivalry going into WrestleMania 23, and it was them two versus I believe it was MVP and Finley in the
Okay.
main event of SmackDown. And I just remember seeing the Undertaker and how like I mean, he's a
Yeah.
phenom,
Yeah.
incredible. So that stuck out so much to me. And like seeing the animosity between him and Batista during the tag match, I fell in love with that. And still to this day, my favorite rivalry is Undertaker and Batista from 2007, 2008. And that's pretty much what hooked me there. The first time I seen it, Friday Night SmackDown 2007, that tag team match. That was it.
Got you. Got you. Do you have a memory of like a first like live event or something like that you went to?
Yeah, the first live event that I went to was I think it was still 2007. Yeah, it was May 2007. The main event was it was SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown. And the main event was Undertaker versus Batista in a steel cage.
Oh
And
shoot.
yeah, dude, I was loving it. And then I remember uh watching it go down, and I seen them both climbing down the cage at the same time, and they both hit at the same time, and they announced it over. Jimmy Kimmel announces it over the uh, arena, saying that they drawed, and I was so new to wrestling, like I didn't know what that meant, like what happens in a draw, and the Undertaker was the champion, and I wanted the Undertaker to win, and so I didn't know what was going to happen in terms of draw. And whenever he said that the Undertaker retains the title via draw, I was stoked. I was like, okay, he still got the belt. That's all that matters to me. And then shortly after that, Mark Henry comes out and beats the shit out of him, beats the
Yep,
shit out
yep.
of him. And then the next thing I know, Edge is coming down with the money in the bank, cashed in, and took the title. I was pissed. That made me hate Edge for years. Years.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my first live show that I've been to, and it was a great one. And looking back at it now, knowing all that I know now, it's just fantastic. I'm so happy I was there.
Well, and it's kind of a historic SmackDown. I mean, especially for that era, like the
Yeah.
PG era, that's a historic. The draw is an iconic SmackDown moment, and then the cash in afterwards is crazy. So that's
Insane.
that's it's cool that that's your first,
Yeah.
live experience.
Yeah.
I know as a kid I saw Taker a couple times, but one time for a SmackDown, I'd have been like 6 years old. It's probably around the 06, 07, the same time, but it was just a live event, and we was up by where they come out. Taker came out with all the smoke and stuff, and I grabbed his coat, and
Nice.
he looks over at me, and I thought I was gonna die, but it was the most badass thing ever. But what I'm trying to say is, I guess, what was it like, as a Taker fan for the first time in person, getting to see, somebody like that come to the ring, world champion? What's that like? What's going through that head?
it it it's it's hard to explain. It's just incredible. It's like I don't have too many like people I look up to, but as a kid, 10 years old, seeing him walk down as champion and defend the title in a steel cage match, dude, it was incredible. It was awesome.
Definitely.
Honestly, it was one of my favorite moments growing up.
Okay. And what I mean, it's hard to top that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Moving into like, growing up, were you a sports kid? Did you get into like football, basketball, anything like that?
I didn't um I had because I was a bigger kid, I had a lot of friends and like teachers in high school and like middle school talking to me about you need to get into football. You need to get into football. You'd be a great lineman or whatever. And I'm like, one, I don't know shit about football. I don't know shit about baseball. I don't know shit. I still don't know shit about any of this stuff. But they kept trying like through high school. They were buddies of mine and teachers and vice principals and coaches. They're talking to me. You need to get in. You need to get into football. Come to practice. Come to practice. It was just something I never wanted to do until I don't I don't know what made me decide my junior year of high school to go to practice and see what it's about. Everybody wants you to do it, so why don't you try it? The last 2 years of high school, maybe it could be something cool and fun. And so my junior year, I started coming to practice, and yeah, I had a great time. I've been working out for years uh, prior to then, and so getting to work out at the fitness center in school was always fun. And then getting to cut it up with the guys on the field was fun. But unfortunately, during that summer break, uh, I broke my ankle at a trampoline park. So I never like broke my ankle, couldn't go back to practice, couldn't do anything on the field. Um, and then school started for my junior year, and I just never made it back. I showed up to school that year in a boot. Like it, I just think it wasn't meant to be for me for that. But I did have fun during the practices, and I think honestly, like looking back at it now, I'd have had a really good time if I started young in elementary school, bleeding middle school and high school. I'd have probably been a pretty good football player if I knew what it was and knew what I was doing, and been doing it for 8, 10 years or so. I feel like I would have been a really good football player, but yeah, I just think it wasn't meant to be for me.
Definitely. I understand. I amateur wrestled in high school, played football, tore my shoulder up. Uh can't finish after that. It's just one of those things that, life gets in the way of those extra curricular activities, so to speak.
Right.
After high school, like, was it your plan to go into wrestling, or was there ever another plan for your
Yep.
life?
Straight to wrestling. I moved from Pennsylvania all the way to Louisville, Kentucky to train at Ohio Valley Wrestling under Matt Capitelli. I met him, I want to say, right after I graduated high school. I had a appointment made with Matt Capitelli to come down to the Davis Arena in Louisville, and he showed me the ropes of what we were going to be doing, uh, uh, and like kind of give me a Kickstarter for my summer break. He said, if you want to, if you seriously want to get into this, you're going to want to get into shape because I mean, I was built muscular, but I was like I was like 300 pounds, and like I didn't do a lick of cardio ever, and and he was like, like him looking at my body, he knew that, and he said, so if you want to get a head start, start doing some like body squats and push-ups and go for a mile run every day, do jumping jacks, all that happy jazz. And me being 18 years old, I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. Like, I mean, I should have. I wish I'd have listened to him because he kicked my ass for like 15 weeks straight. Uh, yeah, after that entire ordeal, seeing him, I went straight home. I played video games for like 3 months. I ate Wendy's every day with one of my buddies, and triple baconators and shit. So I didn't listen to his advice, and I paid for it later. he was a he was a great trainer. I I remember coming back for my first day, a class. I can't remember what month it was, but it was back in 2015. And he looked at me, and I could tell he was disappointed because he gave me the uh, the pregame if I wanted it, and I didn't listen to it. So unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way.
Definitely. Definitely. You so it was at OVW?
Yeah,
Was that before or like during Al Snow being there?
it was before
Before? Did you ever get to have any interaction with him at all? Like, or did you leave before he came in?
Al Snow.
Yeah.
I left before he came in, but I've had other interactions with him at other shows since him taking over.
Okay. What's he like? To
He's
somebody that
he's
might
pr-
not know.
he's pretty cool, pretty laid back. He seems pretty kept to himself. I've only met him 2 or 3 times. Um, and out of all those times, he's seemed pretty kept to himself. But I haven't had enough like sit down conversation with him to give you a real idea.
Definitely. Um, Something fun I like to do on the show, just as a little like, I guess, added bonus, is kind of like do a character analysis, like to let people know who Jami Jameson is. How would you break that down to somebody that hasn't seen you yet?
Okay, so for the first 7 years of my career, I was a big country baby face. People like to cheer me. and stuff like that. And more recently, I've been floating down the the shit heel route, and I've been having a really fun time doing that. Um, yeah, same thing, big country guy. And it's just like middle fingers to everybody kind of deal. I carry around a big old sledgehammer. Uh, I walk out with my manager Xander Gabriel. He takes care of me and he takes care of my social media. And uh, honestly, I've been with him since 2022 now, December 2022, and I feel like ever since I linked up with him, we have really hit the nail on the head and figured out each other, him and me, as our um fuck everybody kind of guys.
Gotcha. What's it like having, as you got with him what in 2022?
Yep.
So like you've had a career without a manager and you've had a career with a manager. What's it like, vice versa? If you get what I mean.
So for me, I never pictured myself with a manager. Um, and honestly, like whenever I was told that there was this idea floating around, me being managed by Xander, I was not too sure about how that was going to work because he kind of had a comedy factor to him, and I was trying to go full fledged, uh, like anarchist bad guy kind of deal, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think this is going to work between how he carries himself and how I want to carry myself, and I don't know how to explain it, but I think our connection for some reason has worked out perfectly. He every once in a while throws out his little funny comedy like shits, and it works out for some reason. Everybody tells me that they love it, and I love it, and he loves it, and so as of right now, where I stand in my career, the 7 or so years that six, 7 years I had without a manager to the 2 that I have had with, I'm enjoying it a hell of a lot more with the manager.
Okay. So like going on into the future, do you see you guys being like a package deal, like where one of you goes, the other one goes type of thing?
Yeah, I we've actually been picking up these past couple months, and anytime I get contacted by somebody uh wanting me on their show, I'm like, we got to get Xander on here because we are a package deal. That's what it is now. Um, and I feel like we both agreed on that, and we both kind of agreed on that whenever it was brought up to each other. We said that if this is gonna work, we gonna have to like be in it together everywhere we go.
Yeah. Kind of all in, all or nothing.
Yep.
So like taking it like you are a bigger guy and from looks of it he is a smaller guy, does it give like the, I don't want to say generic, but like the classic bigger heel with the loudmouth manager type vibe?
Yeah, it pretty much is that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
and I think a lot of people wanted to put him with me because people thought I couldn't really talk, and I couldn't really talk before because I wasn't given any real depth of story, and like it's kind of hard to put a good like meaningful promo out there if you don't have something meaningful to build off of, and anything that me and him has done since December 2022 has had pretty damn good meaning, and it has brought out such great promos from me. And when I remember whenever we first started doing this and we were getting good stories and I was putting out promos, he reached out to me, Xander. He was like, I don't know why they put me with you. You can talk just fine. And I'm like, dude, it's because I haven't been given any like real story, real drive, real motivation until that time. So it's let me shine and it's let him shine, and like people put managers with workers who can't talk so that they can talk, the mouthpiece. But I think him and I both being able to speak, it just makes us so much better.
Is it like one of those that you try to figure out a way to just complement each other?
Yes,
Okay.
100%.
Have you been like, is it one of those things where you've taken inspiration from other great, you know, big guy, little guy tandems, or is it something you've just made completely your own?
I feel like we've made it completely our own because, like I said, he adds a little bit of a comedic factor to it, and I don't recall too much of that ever.
No, no. Usually it's just, especially with a heel, it's a big serious heel with, a big loudmouth counterpart. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the comedy aspect is interesting, I think,
Yes.
especially when you're going down a darker, more shit heel vibe. That could be interesting.
Yes, it's very odd, but for some reason it works. It's just the way he carries himself. Like he can be very serious too, but he throws in those little comedic
Just
jabs in it and it works. It's like I personally love it. I haven't heard anybody talk down on it. So I think it works pretty good for us. And like in our most recent promo, it's on both of our social medias. We're collaborated on it. He talks for a solid, I don't know, minute and a half, and he throws in his comedic jabs about SpongeBob and uh, Squidward and stupid cartoon character shit, and then it leads to me, and I cut it back down. Like I know how to cut the comedic down to make it serious. So if you want to check that out after uh, this, please do,
gotcha, definitely.
because
Earlier
that
you
is a perfect explanation.
okay, I'll definitely check that out. Earlier you mentioned like storytelling on the independent scene. I've heard it can be difficult, especially when you're doing shows very spaced out and stuff like that. What's it like trying to, tell a story with a crowd so spread apart?
Incredibly hard, incredibly hard for me at least, and I haven't been given as much like story to tell as some others. I mean, I can go out there and throw down in the ring and it'd be a good match. Like I'm a brawler, so it's not too difficult to have a good brawling match. But uh I don't know, getting somebody to have the confidence in you to have a multi-month long program with somebody else that you have to rely on too. It's hard to get that and land it. Um, I've been lucky at a promotion called Prospect Pro Wrestling. One of my good buddies, Marshall Gambino, runs it, and he has immense faith in me and much respect for me, and as do I for him, because he's given me a lot of growth in my character and a lot of growth in who I am as a wrestler, and uh, has given me the respect and um, what word am I looking for? The trust in building a story, and he listens to my ideas. And for the past couple years there at that company, I feel like we've told fantastic stories, and it's been easy because he's very easy to work with. There's other companies like at the IWC just this past 2 years since 2022 with Xander has been fantastic. Like they they've given us the trust and given us the ball, and we've been running with it, especially the past couple months in this story with Victor. Uh it's been incredible. Like if if I'm given the ball, I'm able to run. Give me the ball, I can run. It's just hard to get that in the independent wrestling world. Hard to get the promoter to give you the ball. If they can give me the ball, I can run.
Okay. So like I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. We talked about OVW earlier. So like after you're done there, what does your transition look like into the wider independent scene? Like what's it look like trying
Uh,
to get bookings and stuff like that?
I did. I believe the class with Matt Capitelli at OVW was 15 weeks for the beginners course, and then we had a advanced uh program with Rip Rogers, and I was only able to participate 3 or 4 weeks with Rip Rogers because I had a personal issue. I had to move back home, and so I had maybe 20 weeks of training. And whenever you're supposed to go at least a full year training before getting booked on shows, and even though I was booked on a handful of shows at OVW, like in dark matches and whatnot. Uh, but I knew if I was coming home, I was going to need to finish training because I didn't have enough time. And I emailed Justin Plummer at IWC, International Wrestling Cartel, and said, "Hey, I'm moving back home from uh, Kentucky, and I have about 20 some weeks in training, and I'd like to hopefully hop into a class you guys have running, and maybe I could like finish off another half a year there, and maybe I can start getting booked on your shows." And he was all for it, and I got linked up with Chris LaRusso and Andrew Palace out of IWC, and they trained me, which they made it seem like I was only going to have to go through half a year, but I ended up going through an entire year, another full year of training at the IWC. And after that, I had my first pro match in PA against Wardlow for the IWC World Heavyweight Champion. And the rest is pretty much history after that.
Okay. What's it like, transitioning from one school to another? You got one person's teachings, and now you got somebody completely different. What's that like?
Um, the it was definitely different. Matt Capitelli was incredibly strict and hardcore on the drills and all that. It almost to the point of it being like a military kind of drill. So it didn't feel like wrestling, if that makes any sense. It seemed like if I went to the military, if I was in army training, that's what OVW felt like. And then transitioning into my class with Chris LaRusso, uh, he was very hardcore as well, but it felt to me like wrestling. It felt like hardcore wrestling training. And he beat my ass just as much as Matt did, but to me it felt less military and more wrestling.
Okay. Um, if you don't mind me asking, which one would you prefer? Like, if you have to go and train somebody, are you going to prefer the military way or the pro wrestling way?
That's a hard question. For my soul, military way, but for my wrestling career, the wrestling way.
Okay. So you feel like, one, I don't want to say builds more character, but like it helped, like the military way maybe helped you more personally?
It 100% did.
Okay.
Matt changed me as a person, so that I definitely agree. Personally, the military way was perfect for me, and I say this to everybody. My entire trip down to Kentucky uh was 100% worth it just because I met him, Matt Capitelli, and he's passed away now. But yeah, I wouldn't trade that time in for the world. 15 weeks with Matt was something I needed. So that was my reason to be down in Ohio, Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Okay. You mentioned Wardlow at the IWC. What was it like, your first match in? I'm sure Wardlow was still a little green. But what was that like? Now that he's, hindsight being 2020, he's been on TV and stuff like that. What's that like?
Yeah, it I remember like waiting almost up until the day to figure out what I was doing that show because all my other classmates had their matches announced, and I didn't have nothing announced yet. But Wardlow, he had a match graphic out. It was a gauntlet match for the world heavyweight champion, and in my head I was like, "Am I gonna be in the gauntlet or am I gonna have some like shitty other match or?" I just wanted to know what I was doing, and I remember being told that I was going to be the final participant in the gauntlet, and we were going to go like 10 minutes. I was blown away because I at that point I've been at IWC for a year now, paying my dues and doing ring crew and all that. So I've been watching the shows and watching Wardlow, and obviously he's the world champion for a reason. He's fantastic, and so I was stoked to learn that I was getting to work Wardlow for the world championship in my first match at the IWC, and I remember getting to the show. It was Rural Valley, PA, some like dingy high school. And I was there stoked, excited. And then Wardlow, he comes to the show. He's super late. And we're talking. I see him talking to the two others in the gauntlet. Um, I can't remember who they were. It was Plato Merrimack, which I don't think he's around anymore, and Noctis. And he goes under a different name now. But I could just pick up this vibe from Wardlow that he might not have been excited to be there or he wasn't stoked to have this match. I don't know. That's just what I was picking up. I don't know if that's how it was, but I remember coming up to him and like talking to him and uh after we both gave a few ideas because at this point Wardlow wasn't bumped around too much. He was this god. He was this like beast of a man.
Yeah.
And I remember the promoters talking to me like, "You're going to get some bumps in on him. Like this is going to be really big for you." And I remember talking to him and get we both sharing ideas. And I seen him go from looking disappointed to like excited about this match that these two big guys are about to have. So it was exciting to be able to felt like it open him up creatively to the idea of the match, and I feel like we both went out there and had a good time, big man on big man, and him getting to bump around a little bit because he hasn't bumped around in a year or so, so he got to have fun doing that, and he also put me over, and I mean it was a great time, great experience for me.
Okay. So, like, seeing Wardlow then, um, how, how do I want to word this? Um, recently I'd say Wardlow probably hasn't been used right. Do you think that's a bad booking on the way on the part of AEW?
Yeah, they're definitely overlooking him. He should be on top of the world there. He should be competing for the world champion. He should be the world champion. He looks the part. Like if you look back to 2007, like we were talking about earlier, Batista, he is a god. He's massive. He's the world champion. You look at him, you see world champion. I look at Wardlow, I see Batista, I see world champion.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
come on, he needs to be out there destroying it, and his promos are fire. His build, his look, everything about Wardlow screams talent, and he should not be overlooked. He needs to be given the ball like we talked about earlier. Give him the ball because he can run.
Well, like, and he's a big man who can move. Like,
Yes.
that he's a, I don't know. The Batista comparison is probably the best one because I mean, the look. It's literally copy and paste. I don't know how you mess up one
Exactly.
like so. I mean, somebody needs to fix that.
Yes.
But on the other hand, there is AEW, but there is WWE, and they just recently, as far as I think this week, put out I believe it's called WWEID, for independent talent. Is that something, as an independent wrestler that sparks your interest, what makes you want to grind and work harder?
Of course, of course. I think it was an eye opener to all of us. And if it wasn't an eye opener for you and you're in the independent scene, then you don't need to be on the independent scene. Like we all need to be excited and motivated about that. And if you're not, go.
Okay. Do you think like as far as a promoter in the independent scene, it's scary, or do you think it's more of a motivation to pump out good talent and to hopefully also get recognized for being a brand that develops good talent?
That's a pretty hard question too. I could see it being both ways. It definitely could be scary. Uh, I mean, WWE is a monster of its own, so who knows what this is actually going to be like? Like, is it going to be like an NXT scale, or is it going to be a little bit lower? Or, uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're going to have to all see what it's like. It definitely could be scary to promoters. I can see that being scary, but I could also seeing it be motivating as well because you're going to want to pump out your talent. You're going to want your talent being on those shows. Like if you're I don't know if like you'd be signed to that WWE ID or if you'd be able to work around and um like work at other independent shows. Like I feel like that would be good for everybody in that revenue. Uh I don't know if it would be like I feel like if you were to sign a contract that you can't work elsewhere, it wouldn't be so much as good. But I feel like just by seeing how WWE is today and seeing how NXT is and all that, I can see it not being the contract route and it being you work here and you can work here as well, which I
Definitely.
think would be really good for independent wrestling growing going forward.
So like with that, like I know like from talking to people down in Georgia, like that work in maybe not necessarily Georgia, but down in like deep south and stuff, NXT's done work with them along with reality or wrestling. So I mean it definitely could be one of those routes where they use these independent circuits to get like, Lexus King on a card or other
Yeah.
NXT names. But IWC has produced some WWE talent like Elias, and a couple of others. Do you think that's something that, working with them, that they would be interested in doing?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Because like I've seen like the Nightmare Factory has been signed, obviously from Cody, and then Reality of Wrestling. Um, and I think is it whatever Seth Rollins is called has also been signed in
Blackheart?
the. It's either Blackheart or Black. It's Black and something. I
Yeah,
can't,
black something.
but
I know what you're
like,
talking about.
those three, I think right now are the big name, for lack of a better word, feeders for the
Uh-huh.
WID. But you got to think somewhere like IWC, who's been pretty acclimated in producing quality talent, would be interested in something like that.
100%. And IWC in the past few years has grown so much professionally and in their programming and their production. Production's crazy at IWC. It from see now I used to go to IWC as a fan back in 2011, 2012, and to see the growth that it's had since then is absolutely insane. It seems like a TV show now when it's back then seemed like an independent wrestling company. It seems like a TV show now. It has upgraded immensely over the years, and it's just going to keep getting better. They bring in such good names and guys that help run the show. Uh, they have a really good team. and like it's hard to explain how detailed it is now. From even from me joining till now, it's incredibly detailed. The guys really work hard to put a great show on, and I think it shows in ring and on screen.
Are there any platforms for people to watch IWC, like YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah, they stream live on Fight TV.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, and you can buy the streams on there, and or you could subscribe to Fight TV and be able to watch it on there live.
Okay. Is it a monthly thing or
Yeah, it's a monthly thing.
okay.
And they all IWC also has I think it's the I think it's they call it the IWC network. They do the same thing. You could buy all or you just subscribe to it and you can watch any show from any period of time with the IWC.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other promotions that you're working with right now that do something similar?
Yeah, I work for 2PW, and they do a streaming service through indiewrestling.us, Sorgatron Media. Same thing. You can watch it live, or like you pay the monthly subscription. You can watch it live, and you can watch it back anytime. Uh, I know Sorgatron Media and IndieWrestling.us, they're pretty much the same thing. They do tons of Pittsburgh or PA wrestling companies, even West Virginia. Uh, they have a massive market online for independent shows on the East Coast.
Gotcha. Um, I guess segueing off a little bit, there's wrestling all over the place. You know, there's wrestling Canada, Mexico, overseas. Is that something that you would aspire to do? Is go to, you know, one of these foreign countries and wrestle on a show, do a tour or something like that?
Yes, I actually, and I know I'm slacking on it, but I have been working on getting my passport. Uh, I had it all the paperwork done. I just didn't have the photo part. There's a specialty photo you got to have, and I've been slacking on getting that. But yes, it is something that I need to do and want to do, and am excited to move forward in that direction because it only helps me.
Yeah, especially marketably, like being able to say that you're an internationally traveled
Yes.
professional wrestler definitely helps. Um, would it be interesting to try to go somewhere and learn a different style? Like you've heard of guys like Jericho and Mysterio and all these guys going to different countries learning different styles. Is that something that you've thought about, or is it just go there and show them who you are?
Um, I mean, I'm definitely always down to go there and show them who I am, but I'm always open to learn. Uh, I I've been like itching to do more deathmatch kind of style wrestling, so um and this year honestly has been my most hardcore style esque year. And I mean, I've grown up loving that stuff, and I grew up backyard wrestling and doing intense, disgusting matches in the backyard. And growing forward the past year or so, I've been really itching to do more of that style. So if I were to leave the country, it would be definitely cool to learn that Japanese style death match kind of deal.
Okay.
A buddy of mine, Beast Man, from West Virginia, he just went out and did a tour in Japan for death matches, and it made me really want to do something like that.
Okay. I know, like you mentioned Japan. I've talked to several deathmatch wrestlers in Australia. Have you ever seen any stuff like from down there? And is that something you thought about maybe trying? Their style's a little bit different, but
Yeah, I'm honestly not too familiar with Australia uh death match style.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested in doing it. I want to do more stuff here in the States. Um, and I'd love to get out of the country and do it.
Okay. Um, a simple segue question is, to do deathmatch stuff, you gotta be an interesting human being. What goes into mentally trying to, whether it's, thinking about doing it or wanting to do it, what's it like? What gets you interested in doing that style of wrestling?
It's it's the awe factor. So like um like guys love to get the crowd into their 60-minute Iron Man matches and make them pop on that. I'm not a 60-minute Iron Man match kind of guy. I can't get in there and go 60 minutes. And I mean, I'm sure I could probably work something out, but like you're not going to see me do that every weekend. You're not going to see me you might could see me do that maybe once every 2 years. But like I like to get that reaction out of the crowd too, but I like to get it in that kind of way. Everybody's different in the wrestling world, and I'm huge on the brawler style, hardcore style. Like, holy shit, what the fuck did I just see? Kind of
Yeah.
shit. I love that. Like, I still pop for that kind of stuff. I watch people do insane shit. Like, I just watched this um Instagram reel of Matt Justice getting hit with like an exploding barbed wire bat, and he flying off of a fucking scaffold through like
Scaffold. Yep.
8 tables. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's the shit that pops me. And I know what it's like to see that shit and go, holy shit, holy shit. Like, I want to be doing shit like that. Like, oh, he's fucking gushing blood all over the place. Thumbtacks, barbed wire, light bulbs. I love that kind of shit. I've grown up loving it, and I'm itching to do more of it.
Okay. I know it was off screen. I mentioned, I've talked to Madman Pondo. He was actually my introduction to death matches. My dad took me to shows in South Charleston, West Virginia, for IWA East Coast, and it was always Pondo and Ian Rotten and New Jack, stabbing each other in the head with forks, throwing each other through light bulb tables, and all. So, like, I definitely understand watching it. I'm not gonna lie, there has been a thought of, hey, I wonder what it'd be like to, get hit with a light tube or get thrown into some thumbtacks. I understand it. Some people might not though.
Yeah. It's
um,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's a feeling that, like, it's hard to explain. It's just something you want to experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up watching this backyard wrestling company on YouTube called Extreme Showdown Wrestling, ESW,
Okay.
and they did all kinds of barbed wire and light bulbs and like OSB board tables, like not real tables, just they're just plywood, and you're just going through plywood, and that made me know that I have to do backyard wrestling. And growing up, uh, we used to wrestle upstairs in my bedroom on mattresses and shit, and we did that for years to the point to where the ceiling downstairs started cracking, and the floor looked like it was or the ceiling looked like it was about to come down through. So my my parents were like, "You guys got to stop doing this." And then I'm like, "Well, then how about you guys get us like a wrestling ring or something so that we could do this for real?" And what do you know? My dad actually buys me a wrestling ring, and we wrestled outside all the time. And then I don't know how I convinced my parents to let me use barbed wire and light bulbs and thumbtacks and all that shit. But that's where I got my true love for that kind of shit in the backyard. We'd always throw flyers around high school, and we'd have like 200, 250, maybe even 300 people in the backyard for shows. And I haven't really got to do that style death match since then. Actually, this I can't remember what month it was. It might have been July or August or so, I actually did my first no ring death match show, and it was my first time using light tubes since the backyard, and it's such a such a rush for some reason. Like seeing and hearing that explosion of glass and mercury and shit is fucking nuts, dude. I love it.
What was it like the first time you drew blood? Like what was that feeling like?
Um, it was disappointing because the first time that I actually drew blood was in the backyard. Uh, we just learned about gigging, like blading, and so I took apart this like plastic razor blade out of my parents' cupboard, like like face razor blade. It was like a
Yep.
orange plastic razor. I took that apart and I was like, I'm using this tonight, and I gagged a little bit, but it wasn't enough. So it wasn't like that was the first time I drew a little bit of blood, but it was disappointing because I wanted more. But the first real time I got good color was at it was a hair versus hair match, me versus my buddy in the backyard. I had long hair like down past my shoulders. He had long hair about up to his shoulders. This is on YouTube. I'll send you the link if you've never seen it. Uh, it's got like almost 900,000 views on YouTube.
Okay.
And I had a gig in my wrist tape that I was going to use. And we actually stole like 50 staplers from the school, like not good staplers, like just regular old
Yeah.
school staplers. We stole those from the school, and in the match, I grabbed my book bag from school and I dumped the staplers all over the ring. There's like 50 of them in the ring, and he's trying to staple this fucking dollar bill to my head, and it's not working because it's a shitty ass school stapler. And but he's hitting that shit into my head so hard that it actually busted me open. And that feeling was like feeling the warm blood come down your face was definitely interesting. Very adrenaline filled. And
Okay.
ever since then it's been the same feeling every time. If not more, because it's more real and more intense now.
So I've done it twice. One time backyard wrestling my little brother. I was probably like 15, and he was probably like seven, eight, maybe nine, somewhere in there. I don't know. But I did it out of my grandmother, me were having problems, and she was like, "Do not go out there and do nothing crazy." And I was like, "Okay, watch this." And literally, she came out there. We had been wrestling for like 20, 30, maybe even 40 minutes. I've been bleeding for like 15. And like I didn't realize it at the time, but once I got brought inside, she flipped out and screamed. I looked like John Cena at fucking back or Judgment Day. Like it was covered. And she was like, I'm not taking you to the hospital because I'm not explaining this. She said, go figure it out. And then last time was actually for my YouTube channel, which this will go on. Um, Me and my little brother, he hit me in the head with the chair and I gigged and it just wouldn't bleed. And I was like, this was easier when I was 15, like and
Yeah.
not under pressure. And I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just the 30-minute war that me and my brother were going through that made it gush out.
Yeah.
But, and I definitely took some type of like
Aspirin.
aspirin or Advil,
Yep.
something beforehand, and I didn't this last time. So I was like, that's
Sure.
probably what definitely definitely did it. But she was ready to kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, man. I know all about it, brother. Yeah, sometimes you can't get a good one going and you just gotta go back at it.
Like this last time, I literally like 4 or 5 times just like it wouldn't go. I was like, and then when we were done and everything, I got blood all over my face. I'm like, are you serious? And like I was trying to tell my little brother, I was like, work the cut, man, work the cut. And he
Yeah.
kept hitting me everywhere but the cut. And I was like, are you serious? Like, so I had like a headache for 4 days afterwards. And I was like, no payoff.
Yeah, I actually during my backyard days, I don't know if you know who the man Dime Elijah Dean is, but we grew up together doing the backyard wrestling, and he's been at IWC. He's been IWC World Heavyweight Champion before. Um, and we and he is always a it's always a bad influence on me for some reason. Um, we were only gonna do a promo, like a video in the backyard, uh, just talking, and then a brawl at the end. And he was like, "You have to gig for it," and I was like, "This ain't even the match. We got the match this weekend. Like, I'll do it there." And he was like, "Well, you're a pussy if you don't do it for the promo." And I was like, "Well, fuck it. If you're gonna call me a pussy, I'm gonna do it then." And so him and this other guy was in the ring, and they had a great promo. And then I come out, I have my good portion of the promo. It was great. Like, it felt great. I mean, I'm sure it was probably ass because we were like 14 and 15, but it felt great at the time. And then I I can't remember exactly what happened, but him and I, Elijah Dean and I, we were like going back and forth fighting, and then he cracks me in the head with a chair. I go down, and I got my gig in hand, and I go, and you probably can see it. It's really long. It's like from here to here.
Yep.
Yeah, I I get it in here, and I do a little nick, but I didn't take the blade out of my hand or out of my head. And I turned to look this way to see if he's coming to grab me. I turn and it's still in my skin. And I turn. It was the most foul sound I ever heard in my life. It was like, and I was gushing. It was so bad. And I before I told him, I was like, make sure you work the cut, just like you were saying. It's like, make sure you work that cut. And I remember seeing him grab the back of my head and then look at my face just covered in blood. And he was like, oh my fuck. Because he could see the gash. It was this long and it was like that wide. And I had to go to the hospital immediately after that to get I think it was 8 stitches. It was so bad. And I took aspirin too, so it was not good.
Sounds like you're trying to scalp yourself. Like
Yes.
literally, because I mean, you can see it on camera. It's literally the middle of your forehead to the
Yep.
sides.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about the scar on the forehead, but
Yeah,
glad
man.
we got the story.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I told this on a podcast, so it's definitely a good story. It's fucked up, but it's fun. It was fun.
So, like, doing deathmatch stuff, are there any inspirations? Like, are there any guys that you saw and was like, hey, shit, that looks cool. Maybe I want to go do that?
I grew up watching like CZW compilations on YouTube, and seeing Nick Gage and um Zandig, loved Zandig, uh Sick Nick Mondo. Um
Brain damage?
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, big fan of all that shit. John
Okay.
Moxley too.
Yeah, young Moxley was something.
Yeah.
It's it may it's one of those things that makes you wonder like what what would he be like now if he didn't go to FCW and to WWE? Like would he still be in that CZW mentality? Because you
Oh
see it every
man.
once in a while, but
Yeah,
it's watered down when it's on AEW.
sure. Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
you know, speaking of you, I guess wanting to be a deathmatch guy or doing some deathmatch stuff, like I always like because it's fun to ask, like, do you have an opinion on somebody like Matt Cardona calling himself a deathmatch king?
I think he's earned it. It's awesome. I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
that's
he's
what
over as
everybody
fuck.
said, and I like it. I like it because
Yeah.
you're right. He's over with it.
Yeah, it's awesome. He can own that title. That's badass. Until somebody else can be more over than that, that's his title. I
It's
love it.
it, he's probably made like I don't want to say made it cool, but like he's made it almost mainstream, like to where
Yeah.
it's it's not frowned upon. Like you see Cardona do a death match, and it's not like, oh, that's not wrestling. That's more like, okay, Cardona's doing it, so let's go see other people do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I love it.
Would you say it would be like an aspiration of yours to like work somewhere like GCW where death matches are prominent?
Yeah, man. I would love to.
Yeah.
Definitely love to. Yep.
Have
Definitely a
you
goal.
have you had any shots at any, upper level indie promotions at all?
I'd say IWC is pretty much the highest promotion I really worked for.
Okay. So like would you say like can you still hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. One of my headphones died and I was like, I hope it didn't cut out. But would you say it'd be like an aspiration to go to like the NWA or MLW or somewhere like that?
Yeah, I would love to, man. I have good friends who work at NWA, so I would definitely enjoy doing parts of that. I don't know if you've seen any of the NWA Exodus stuff with EC3,
Yeah,
but I'd love to do stuff like that as well. I got great friends who work those shows too, so I don't think it's out of reach, honestly. I feel like I could make it to uh those goals.
definitely. And mentioning goals, a lot of guys, further like just get their break, 17, 18, 19 years in, and you're only 7 years in. So like, would you say like within, like, what would your goals be like in the next 10 or so years? Like, what do those goals look like?
I would definitely, I mean, obviously, ultimately, the biggest goal is to be signed to a major company. But over the next 10 years or so, um, I would definitely just, at the least, I'd like to be known as one of the best on on the indie scene. I'd like to travel more, get out there more. I, like I said, the past 2 years with Xander, I've felt more confident and more comfortable and um I just feel like, and I've been told this by many guys too, that they feel like I'm finally breaking out and like I'm starting to um get down with like who I am and what I'm doing. I feel so good with what I'm doing with him, and we have great ideas and we have great pitches going to other companies and working great angles with companies we're already with. So I feel like 2024 was great for me. I feel like 2025 is going to be game changing for me.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. Uh, One I like to ask people, because there are so many inspirations in wrestling. Do you have any like guys that you've watched growing up that you've seen and said, "Hey, I want to try to do stuff similar to them"?
Yeah. Uh, I always I always grew up loving watching Tommy Dreamer and seeing his style and stuff like that. And actually, just in June, I got to work Tommy Dreamer in a tag match at IWC, an Extreme Rules match. So it was pretty badass uh,
Yeah.
getting to do that and getting to talk to him in the back and feel out how how he like took our match and like what he liked from it, what he didn't like from it. Uh, and like another crazy thing is I met Tommy Dreamer in that building back in 2014, and I wrestled him in 2015 in the same building. So it was crazy for me. And getting to talk to him about that and show him pictures that I took at his merch table from 2014, and then getting to take a picture with him after the match in the back, it was super cool. So yeah, Tommy Dreamer is one of those guys. Um, big Mick Foley fan, big Taker fan. Um, Obviously Triple H is fantastic too. He definitely has had a big motivation on my career. Like I'm carrying around a sledgehammer. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I guess, you know, you mentioned getting to pick the mind of Tommy Dreamer a little bit. what's it like going into a conversation like that? You know, somebody you look up to going in and like knowing you might not get another chance to sit down and talk to this person. Like, what's that like being able to pick his brain?
So, like, I remember getting to the show. I'm bringing a bunch of weapons, bringing tables and shit, because I'm like, Extreme Rules match, Tommy Dreamer. This is gonna be sick. And it was also, I'm sure you know who Channing Decker is.
Yep.
Uh, so it was Channing Decker and Tommy Dreamer versus me and another guy, Jason Tyler, for the IWC Tag Champs in the main event. And I remember getting there and then seeing Dreamer show up, and I came up, shook his hand real quick. He just seemed like tired, beat down, and then like I don't even think he didn't even know I was the person he was working. Like he didn't even know that. Whenever I shook his hand, and then later in the night, um, somebody comes up to me and says, "Dreamer's looking for you and Tyler. So can you guys go talk to him?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we ran over, talked to him, and he was like, "Just so you know, I was working in Toronto last night. We did a hardcore match. I'm beat up. You guys are gonna be taking the brunt of all this shit." I was like, "That's cool. I'm down. Whatever. I'm excited." And Decker wasn't even there yet, and I could just tell Dreamer was like not into it because he just came from Toronto. He said that he had 10 flights in the last 7 days. I was like, holy fuck, that's brutal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, holy fuck. And like he has no idea who I am. He has no idea who my tag team partner is. He had like he's beat the fuck up, and now he's got to wrestle two guys he doesn't know. Like he doesn't know if he can trust us. We might be fucking shitheads. I mean, you never know. And that's
Mhm.
what he said to us after the match. He said that he had his guard up for the first 3 minutes of the match because he didn't know who we were. And then he said, within the first 3 minutes, I knew I could trust you. He was like, I knew you were good. I knew you were serious. And he said, I knew your character work was good. I knew you were safe in the ring within the first 3 minutes. So I let my guard down and we tore it up. And so that was great to hear from him. And he said that he'd be willing to come back and do it any day of the week with me. So it was a good feeling to hear.
Definitely. Um, I'm guessing a conversation like that definitely just means the world to you, huh?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Have you got any other opportunities since then to talk to him at all?
Nope, not at all. I'm actually, he'll be at the show tomorrow. So
Okay.
I'll get to talk to him tomorrow.
Okay. Exciting?
Yeah, man. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I understand. Like I told you, I don't know if I told you on air or off air, but I just talked to Sabu, and it was one of those, uh, uh, like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it's definitely one of those I had to mark out before I got on the screen, and like
Yeah.
it was one of those like last minute ordeals. So I didn't like. Usually I'd get to do research and know
Yep.
something, and I like obviously you know who Sabu is, but like
Yeah. Yeah.
going into an interview, you have a hour block. You want to know what you're going to talk. I had no clue, and like I got on there and almost froze, and like you don't want to say anything to piss him off because he's a legend, and then
Yep.
I understand to a small degree. I understand. Um, One of the last questions I always like to ask, for one reason, it has no right answer, and for two reasons, it's just fun. Do you have a Mount Rushmore? And if you do, who are they and why?
Okay. I was just actually asked this at work the other day, so I'm good to give you that answer. I'm giving Taker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and The Rock.
Do you mind giving us a why?
Undertaker because he's my goat since
Okay.
day one. Um, Shawn Michaels in ring is almost unmatched. I mean, there's guys that are comparable, but in ring, even on the stick, he's great too. Um, yeah, almost unmatched in the ring. Shawn Michaels, he can tear it up with anybody. Uh, Triple H, just for what he's done for the business, is incredible, incredible, and not to mention everything else he's done. I mean, he's done everything. He's multi-time, 14-time world champion.
Yep.
Fantastic heel, probably the best heel that's ever been out there.
At least
Uh,
in like the last 15, 20 years.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, he tears it up. Whatever he's doing, he's tearing it up. Whether he's being fucking killer in 2002 to 2004, or if he's being comedic with Shawn Michaels in DX, he's fantastic at whatever he does, from one end to the other.
Yep.
And like I said, everything he's done for the business, it's incredible. He's right up. He might even be number one. He's fantastic. And then, did I say The Rock?
Yep.
See, I always go back between The Rock and Steve Austin,
Okay.
and so, and even John Cena. It's very hard.
Yeah. That last spot's always the most difficult.
Yep, for me, it's man, it's that last spot is hard. Rock, Cena, Austin, and I said The Rock.
Yeah.
That's so hard because I want to say Steve. um, I don't know. I might change it to Steve.
You can take it back.
I think I'm gonna go with Steve because of his like what he did in the attitude era to turn it around from WCW's 83 weeks and to make WWF/WWE what it became after the Attitude Era. That's
Austin
just so
definitely
good.
he definitely won us the Attitude Era. There
Yep.
was no Austin 316. There would probably not be a WWF now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely won it for us. And I mean, I wasn't around for the Attitude Era days, like watching it as a kid, but if I was, I'd be WWF over WCW. So to have Steve win it for us, I gotta say he's on there over The Rock, but it still is hard to say.
Definitely. Um, the last thing I always ask on here, I like to end it off on a good note, and the easiest way to do that is to give advice to somebody, to just, leave the audience with something good.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anybody wanting to, be in your spot and try to become a wrestler and chase that dream?
Um, yeah, push away the negativity because there can be a ton of negative in the independent scene, in the wrestling scene, uh even like negatives from fans or people that you look up to. Like there can be so much negative and you just got to avoid it because negativity is what ruins your self-confidence, and it's ruined mine in the past, and it's stuff that I don't like to talk about, so I'm not going to. But you just got to ignore that shit because fuck that. Do what you want to do, enjoy yourself, have fun, and kill it. And for anybody who's out there that's being negative to somebody else, fuck you, because that's not your place to be like that. And wrestling's supposed to be fun for all of us, and we're supposed to help one another. And if you're not doing that, fuck out of here. Because we all got to put each other over. We gotta help each other step up. Because if we don't help each other step up, then the business doesn't step up. And that's what we are all trying to do. We're all trying to make this wrestling world as big as we can. And if you're not on that train, then fuck off. That's
Perspective.
pretty much what I gotta say. Even if I got a little negative there at the end, saying fuck off, but
No,
uh,
it was nice to end it
that's
with
how I
a
feel.
promo. Did it cut out?
You still
There
there,
we go.
brother?
Yeah. No, I was like, it's nice to end it off on that nice little promo. Thank you once again. I really enjoyed having you on the show. I'm glad we got to make it work. Um, it's an exciting episode. Good stuff. I really do appreciate it.
I think honestly, this has been probably my best one. So I've done a handful, and I've had the most fun on this one. So
You know that, and off camera, I told you I just want to have a chat, and that's the point, is just for us both to have fun, shoot the shit, and hopefully learn a little bit about each other.
yeah,
I,
man,
I'd love to do a part two.
I'd love to be here for it.
All right, sounds good. So we'll see you next time.
Yeah, man.
All right.